welcome to the Fermented Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Anna, and on this channel, I'm sharing our journey of learning how to turn our home into a homestead. Today, we are fermenting some asparagus. We just have this one package. I should have bought two, but I only got one. So just know you probably want to get two of these. So anyways, what we're going to do with these, I already rinsed them off and let them, I rinsed them off. And then so it's just the simplest thing ever in the entire world, and it is so good. Oh my gosh. The process with making the fermented asparagus is super easy. All you really have to do is cut off the ends and pieces that are kind of woody and gross. So I'm just gonna do that real quick here. And you definitely do want to make sure that you get enough of the bottom ends of these taken off. The first time that I did this, I was trying to be cheap, and and I didn't cut off enough of the bottom, and those end pieces, they're just inedible. Like, I mean, they're just as inedible fermented as they are, you know, stringed up in your food. I mean, so anyways, you just want to make sure, you know, don't be cheap, and definitely cut off enough to get rid of all of the fibrous pieces, because it's gross. Hi.
Hi. Looks good.
It will be. But it's fermented. Or it's going to be fermented.
You have to wait.
How long do you have to wait for this? Like a week. Probably 2 weeks, if I'm being real. So then all you do is you just take whatever vessel that you're using to ferment in, and you want to make sure that you cut it down enough to be able to fit them in the jar. It's a little too much. Let's go with here. Here. There we go. Because you want to make sure that you're getting them short enough. I mean, there are lots of different ways. You can even just cut these up into tiny little pieces, and it would be just fine. I just don't like to deal with the little floaters. So anything that I can make longer, I will. Just so I don't have to deal with it. And a nice handy way of doing it is you kind of just prop it up a little bit and just put it in there. It helps a bit. Putting away all my measuring sticks here. And if you do use like a measuring stick type thing that I'm using, make sure you use the same one and don't just rotate through them, because then they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they won't fit in the jar. Ask me how I know that, Norman. So let me kind of show you what I've got going on in here. I'm just, like, I've got it laying flat. It's just for these tall spear type things, you know, carrot sticks or, you know, zucchini sticks or pickles or anything. It's really just easier to actually stack them. It's really just easier to just stack them up inside the jar like this. And then that you can just fit a lot more in there. It's just, I find it much easier, and you're just struggling with less and trying to like fiddle with it less. It's just so much easier. So then we're going to take these end pieces and do the same thing, but they're going to be a lot smaller, so this part's going to be a challenge. Just kind of try and slide them in there, same as the other ones. And a lot of these pieces, I shouldn't say a lot, but some of them could still end up being a little bit too woody. And I've just realized I forgot the garlic. So we got 7 cloves of garlic that we are gonna add in here. I mean, I guess technically it doesn't really matter when you add the garlic in, but just, especially because I'm not going to be chopping it up, I shouldn't have an issue with it staying in the brine. So I'm going to show you a handy dandy little trick that I figured out not too long ago, and it works really well. Let me show you. Hold that thought. I have 1 tablespoon of salt, and I just added some hot water to it, and I like to do a ratio of 2 tablespoons per quart of water, and I'm just gonna mix this up as a pint. So I have 1 tablespoon of salt in here, and I'm just gonna kind of swirl it and mix it and stir it until the salt is dissolved in the liquid, and then we're gonna pour it on top of here and take the next step after that. Here is our saltwater brine, and we're just gonna pour it on top. You wanna make sure that the water is not too hot. If the water is too hot, you're gonna kill all the bacteria that is on this asparagus or whatever vegetable you're doing. You want to make sure that it's cool enough to where this is why I do it ahead of time, and I melt the salt, dissolve the salt, whatever you want to call it, in the jar with a little bit of hot water, and then I add cold water to it to cool it off, to make it so that it's not too hot to actually use in here. Okay, so my cool little trick that I figured out not too long ago. It's pretty cool. If you've seen my green bean video, you know what I'm doing. This one might be a little bit small, but it'll work. It might just be a little more challenging. Okay, so we're just gonna put it on top. Make sure you have a good view here. You're just gonna put it on top of everything as a way to kind of hold everything underneath the brine. And you want to tuck it around the edges. Get one more layer. And I'm not going to be very concerned about using too much, because I'm not. You could definitely add this to anything really that you don't mind having a slight onion flavor to it. If you're adding onion to the ferment, you can totally use this instead of like a piece of cabbage, because I mean, who always has cabbage laying around, but who always has onions laying around? Maybe not laying around, but you get the gist. And I'm doing my best and failing quite miserably at trying to get the onion to go around the spears, just to make sure they don't. Oh, I got it. So I'm only missing one. I got one little one that's poking out. Right there. Okay, I guess that's 2, but hopefully these will be in here tight enough so that it won't matter as much. So now what we're gonna do is just finish off the rest of this. Hold on. One more thing. We're gonna take the pickle puck. You don't need a pickle puck. You can totally just use like a boiled rock in your yard. That's what I use. If I'm fermenting in my regular mouth jars, I don't have these for the regular mouth jars. So if you boil them and clean them, they're fine. Just use a rock. But you do want to make sure you use something over it to make sure that you catch any of these little floater things. Let's see if I can show you on camera here. If you can see the little floaters that are in here. All these little floaters right here, that's what's gonna mold if you don't get that off. So even just those little teeny pieces, you wanna make sure you get them off. Because these little pieces are what the mold is going to attach to and start forming on your ferment. Because the mold requires oxygen. And so if there's nothing up on top for it to hold on to, it's not gonna be there. It's gonna go somewhere else. Or it's gonna die. It'll probably go somewhere else. There we go. So we have our asparagus spears all done and ready. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this over in the corner with the rest of my vegetable ferments that I have going on. Keep them far away from any other ferments that I have, but near the rest of the vegetable ferments. And we're gonna let this go probably, I'm gonna start checking on it in about a week, but really it might be like as long as like 2 weeks. And I will bring you along for 1 or 2 of the tastings, and then I'll show you what we have in the end. And you can kind of see at least what I prefer as far as taste and timing and that sort of thing. So, see you in a bit. It's been 1 week and 6 days, so pretty much 2 weeks, since we left our asparagus to actually ferment. And now it is time to actually do a taste test on it. This one did not do very much. This one, I mean, it didn't usually though, like these things will get all like puffed up and it'll just go crazy. This one didn't, and I was kind of surprised because asparagus typically does that. And so anyways, it didn't do a whole lot. I don't have a clue how this is gonna be, how it's gonna taste, how fermented it's gonna be. Only thing I do know is that last time I checked it, it didn't have any mold on it. That's about all I know about this. I haven't done a taste test. I haven't really smelled it. So now the time has come and we are going to possibly open this jar. Yep, okay. So now we're gonna do a test. It smells very unactive. It doesn't smell very fermented. So I'm not holding out a whole lot of hope for this one. Roll up the sleeves here. Okay, and I have a nice clean plate right here. And I'm gonna go ahead, that's what I set my my pickle puck on, and that's what or pipe, and that's what I'm gonna put the puck on. And that way, especially with this one, I don't think it's ready, but we're just gonna go ahead and give it a shot. And that way, I don't have to re-clean everything. I know the plate's clean, I know everything's clean, so we got one little floater here. Let's give it a shot. It's pretty good. It's definitely not ready for me. Let's try one more piece here, shall we? Just to make sure. You know, actually, I think I am gonna go ahead and pull this. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the fridge, and just whenever I get to actually consuming it, that's when I'm gonna consume it. And these onions that are in here, I'm probably gonna add this to dinner tonight. The nice part about using the onions in here is that it adds the flavor to the actual ferment, but you can also use the onions as a fermented food, and you can throw it into dishes. You can throw it into dishes after you're cooking it if you want to maintain the probiotics of it, or you can add it to the foods while you're cooking it, and that will have its own benefits. They're different benefits, but there are still some benefits to consuming them, but you also get the flavor to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just call this one done. That is all there is to fermenting asparagus. This stuff is so delicious, oh my gosh. And the longer you let it go, the more pickled the flavor is going to be, the more probiotics that will be in it. And it kind of just, you find the right level. That's the nice part about actually doing these ferments on your own, is that you can ferment it for however long you want to ferment it for, because it is just whatever taste that you like with it. So totally recommend doing this. This is the second time. I did it last year as well, and I'm pretty excited to have more of this. And come springtime, when these are actually, or early springtime when these are actually in season, I'm gonna be going gangbusters on these. So you'll be seeing these in the vlogs quite a bit once they actually come into season. So I just wanted to give you guys a test run. So once it does actually get into season, I have a video up and I can show you guys how you can actually ferment this amazing, delicious food. And you can consume it in foods, but it's just as good just munching on it out of the jar. It's kind of like pickled carrot spears, kind of, but They don't taste like carrots, they taste like asparagus, and they're pickled, but they're delicious. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next video. Happy fermenting, and let me know in the comment section below what you guys are working on fermenting today.